Kia ora koutou, Markie here, walking along. I've been asked by a subscriber to show you guys a little bit more of where I am. It's a very beautiful area. I'm very lucky to be here. So we'll try and do that in a little while when we get nearer the sea, maybe. So I want to talk about why I do all the wrong things with a YouTube channel, and also maybe a little bit about why. Now, I've covered this before from a slightly different angle, so if you've been around me for a little while and you've kind of watched a lot of the videos, if this starts to sound a bit familiar, then you know, maybe give this one a miss, because you'd have heard the bulk of the content. It's just a slightly different context, really. So okay, I want to see if we can maybe count these as we go along. I'm not a big one on counting in numbers. The reason I'm not a big one on counting in numbers is I have suffer with, or I have dyscalculia, which is effectively like numeric dyslexia, and that is relevant to this video. So we will talk about that a little bit later on. So I'm going to give you a little glimpse here. Now, one of the things I do wrong, or do badly in terms of a YouTube channel, we'll call this one number one, okay? I hope you help me count here, because I'm rubbish at counting, is I'm not very good with cameras or tech or anything like that. So what I find is I use my iPhone to record videos, which brings benefits and problems. And when I've got it kind of flipped so that I'm looking at the screen and the camera is facing me, when I want to show you something in the distance, there seems to be no easy way to kind of press a button and focus the camera the other way. So I turn the camera around, and it's really weird, because what I think I'm capturing with the camera, I'm not. So quite often I think I'm showing you something. I did this on the last video I did, and I'm not showing you it at all. So hopefully I'll be able to show you the view. Now, there's a spring tide, I think yesterday, so it's a very low tide, and you can see much further out that the much more kind of the shore is visible, and it's quite kind of rocky. And what's interesting to say is the rocks look quite light in colour, so they've really dried out. They're normally dark, but they're showing a little bit lighter. So hopefully I can show you this. And this is going to be really clunky, and I'm going to be moving the camera around a lot because I want to make sure that it captures the view. So number one, things I do. Oh, there's Coco the cat. I don't know if you can see her. She's a real celebrity. I could do a whole video on her, actually. Hope you can see Coco the cat. So yeah, you can't normally see rocks that far out. That's because it's a spring tide. Spring tides don't happen in the spring, by the way. That's they're just called spring tides for some reason. A little railway there. That's a little industrial railway that goes to a port, brings kind of cargo. Sadly, not people, because it'd be good to have a railway. So there we go. So really bad camera work, number one. Okay. And we'll make this point number two, shaky camera. Okay. So the reason I have a shaky camera is not just because I'm walking. I mean, I'm usually making videos sitting down, but it's because I have ADHD. So I'm very kind of spontaneous, very in the moment, and if there's a lot of faff involved in setting up a video, I do have a camera stand and things like that, then I find that I just don't make one. So I make videos in the moment when I want to make them, and therefore shaky camera. Now, the camera is the wrong way round, okay, because I should be holding it like this. But what I find is when I hold it like this, it kind of, it's not doing it now, but thumbs appear around the edges. There we go, that's an example of it. And it's much easier to hold this way around, which of course means that the picture that you get is like you used to get on the telly when they were showing you movie films, and you'd have those dark bands on either side where the cinema screen is a different shape to the TV screen, which doesn't look so good. So that's another bad thing that I do. That's three wrong things that I do. And again, so the dyscalculia means, for among other things, it means I'm very bad, and other neurodiverse issues that I've got, and I've got videos on this, so I won't explain it. means that I'm not very good with anything sequential, not very good at taking in information, particularly kind of technical stuff and kind of how to, and also I'm very impatient. So, I never read instructions. In fact, I hate tech. The worst thing you could do, when people get a new mobile phone, for example, usually they're kind of excited and thinking, what can I do with this? And they're looking at the instructions and fiddling around with things. Whereas for me, I think it's a nightmare. I've got to relearn all this stuff. So not very good with tech in general. All right, just crossing the railway here. Do it both ways. In case you get run over by a train. It's a level crossing. So what have we got? Shaky camera the wrong way, and poor use of the camera. so that's 3 things I do badly. The 4th thing I do badly, which is even bigger thing, really, a bigger fault, and it's also to do with ADHD. Yeah, it's looking really good today. You can see rock pools that you can't normally see. There's much more sand. You don't normally see much sand on this beach. I'll give you another little look. Stream. Now, I don't know if you can see that strange thing there. That's the long pole that's going up into the sky and is moving. That's an art installation known as the wind wand. Talking of wind, you're probably getting a lot of wind noise. Not that kind of wind. It's very windy here at the moment. It's always windy here. So yeah, my worst sin really in terms of YouTube channel is I cover too many things, because one of the big things for a successful YouTube channel is you focus on one thing. People know what they're getting. They come to your channel because they're into that thing. And you get kind of, lots of return trade, if you like, lots of people coming back to the channel. Now, I'm into loads of things. That's partly to do with ADHD, because we kind of get very excited about new things and very passionate. And we also kind of can get bored with things. So I don't get bored on a kind of long-term basis. All the things that I talk about on this channel are things that are passions and interests. But I'm very... I'm very kind of in the moment, so sometimes I just don't want to talk about retroactive jealousy, and sometimes I really do want to talk about retroactive jealousy. So, and yesterday I did a really spontaneous one. I didn't really plan to do this at all, but I'm a bit of a obviously I'm a nerd, and I watched an episode of Doctor Who, and I always want to kind of talk about them and share my thoughts about the episodes and stuff. So immediately I did a review of Doctor Who, which wasn't really my intention. I was thinking of maybe doing the odd one, but to do one for every episode is probably a bit excessive. But I had a real drive to do it. So, and this causes all kinds of problems, and I know this will slow down the growth of my channel, and it will confuse people. And it's really not a good idea. So I've got a real mix. So I've got retroactive jealousy, which is something I work with professionally. That's a real niche thing. So people that tune into my channel that are interested in retroactive jealousy probably don't want to watch any of the other stuff. And then I've got a lot of very serious stuff. Stuff about different psychological conditions, or stuff that's about understanding people, understanding the human condition. I've got kind of stuff around song meanings and things like that, but again, usually with a psychological leaning. Then I have an interest in the esoteric, so I cover a lot of what you might call woo-woo subjects. Now, that's going to put a lot of people off. So the people that are interested in me professionally, when they watch me cover topics that are a bit woo-woo, that's going to instantly affect my kind of professional credibility, even though the woo-woo topics that I cover are approached from a very objective point of view and often a psychological point of view. But even the very fact that I've got videos on UFOs is going to put people off professionally. So it's a real mess. But I think if I tried to do it any differently, it just wouldn't happen. And I have thought about having different channels. So I have a Patreon channel as well as this one, and that's really my kind of a way of kind of seeing at some point if I can get an income from vlogging, as well as the the other work that I do. But I have thought about having a number of channels so that I can talk about different things on different channels, but I just would not manage that. That would completely overwhelm me. And again, that's the neurodiversity thing. So what I basically figured is, now we're going to pass something now which could be a bit of a distraction. There's a little kind of expo. There's a coast path here, brilliant coast path, goes on for miles, and along the side of the coast path is a kind of expo of stone sculpting, and it's in phases. So first of all, the sculptors are doing their thing, doing their work, and you can actually walk past and see them doing it, and then it's going to be open as an exhibition, and then it's going to be open as an auction. Now let me see if I can kind of show you this again with dodgy camera work. So I'm taking the camera up and down because it's very difficult to angle the camera. So what's happening is dust is blowing off the stones where they're blasting them with something. I can't quite see how they're doing it, and that's coming across the path. So and it's also making quite a lot of noise, so that's going to be a distraction. So we'll go with the distraction. That's one of the things that I always say to do, is go with. Some people try and ignore distractions. Whenever I'm doing presenting or anything like that, if there's a distraction, top tip, always talk about the distraction, focus on the distraction. If you just try and ignore it and kind of pretend it's not there, that really doesn't work. Let's see if I can show you this guy. Or lady, I think, I can't tell. Not that it matters. Anything about gender is the accuracy of language. So this could be quite interesting, really. I'd like to go along to this exhibition when it's open. So we're almost past now. We're getting to a particularly noisy one. See if I can show you this one. Yeah, so we're getting past that now. So I'm a great believer in being yourself. And I quite like the philosophy of Taoism. And Taoism is a lot about going with the flow of things. And I've kind of taken from Taoism what I call Taoism with a small t, because Taoism begins with a T. It's not Taoism, it's pronounced Taoism, spelled Taoism. And I always try and go with the flow of things and never against the flow of things. So I have to be myself. I have to work in a way that's consistent with who I am and what I'm like. And therefore, I've chosen to make my channel the way it is, with shaky camera, spontaneous videos, all those, multitude of topics. And I know that that's not the ideal way to grow a channel, but it's the ideal way for me to grow a channel. And I know it'll take me longer, and I know it will frustrate people, and I know people will get confused, and some people will maybe miss some of the videos and things that they might be interested in because of the mass of other stuff that's kind of there as well. So yeah, that's it really. And also, I suppose, so how we got to 4, didn't we? So 5, I guess, unplanned. I have thoughts about what I want to say, but when I record videos, I do them off the cuff. Now, I can plan videos. I've done talks and presentations and stuff like that where I plan them really well, so I can do that shit. But if I did that every time, or if I set out to do that every time, I just wouldn't do it, because I'd have that. I also suffer from something called pathological demand avoidance syndrome, which means it's like kind of, everybody will say that they procrastinate too much, but this is like the disease of procrastination and avoidance and not doing things. So if I felt that I had to meticulously plan things out every time I did a video, I just would not do them. And also, I've got a full-time job and other things that I do, other passions that I follow, and other vocational stuff. So it just would not happen. So yeah, so I guess that's 5. Now I'm sure there are more, and what I often find myself doing is, after I've recorded a video, is I think of something else and then put it in the description box, which is what I did with the the Doctor Who review video which I did yesterday. So I am doing it all wrong, so do not copy me unless you have the same kind of psychology as me. But maybe what you could copy from me is being true to yourself, doing what works for you, finding your own optimum operating conditions. Really, and this is something that I've learned. Really, is that with a neurodiversity, in order to get things done, in order to be motivated, in order to function well, I do need certain things. And I used to think it was an indulgence to kind of give them to myself, or expect them, or ask for them. And more I'm learning. Well, if you want what I can do, I'm going up a hill now. That's why I'm puffing. If you want my stuff, if you want my input, my work, my ideas, whatever it might be, then it's like a bit like a machine, isn't it? It's like some machines have kind of certain conditions. You have to service machines, you have to I don't know, I'm not going to go too much further with the machine analogy because I'm not really a machine person. But like a car, you have to put things into a car. You have to put water and fuel and check tyre pressures and all those kinds of things. Oh, that's interesting. There's almost like a circle of rocks. And again, I've never seen this before because the tide has always been higher. So this is particularly low spring tide. So let's see if I can show you this. So where did we get up to? I think maybe 6. 6 is that the videos are very homely, which I think is an advantage and a disadvantage. What I like to think is that I will ultimately attract people that kind of like that like my personality, like the way I talk about things, like my kind of sense of humour, and kind of gel with that. But I'm also very aware that there's a huge amount of people that are going to hate that, and that's kind of, to me, that's kind of okay. I'm not going to try and please all the people. Not please all the people all the time, or fool all the people all the time. So that's kind of 6, the kind of homely thing. 7, not great with thumbnails. Haven't got any fancy graphics, presentation. Now, a lot of the videos are just me talking, so effectively this could be a podcast, but it's easier to shoot as a video. I do have the beginnings of capability to do podcasts. I've done one podcast, but generally speaking, these are videos, and they're just pictures. The shot is just my ugly mug. It's weird how those rocks are in a circle. So where did we get to? 6 or 7? See, I can't even count because of dyscalculia. So, and maybe another, it would be, sorry, the wind's increasing here because I've changed direction. Maybe the other would be personal disclosure, in that in some of my videos I disclose a lot of very personal things, which isn't always a good idea when you're a professional, when you're out there, because people can judge you badly for some of the things that you share. You could look at perhaps being a professional, you should only show a kind of glitzy, glossy image of yourself and not show yourself warts and all. But I guess in many ways I show myself warts and all when I go on with these videos. So yeah. So if you watch this to the end, first of all, congratulations. Big respect. Secondly, tell me how many that is I've counted up to. I think, I'm not sure if it's 7 or 8. That's what I'm like with numbers. And maybe I'll do I've done a whole series on neurodiversity and dyscalculia, and numeric dyslexia is a form of neurodiversity. And maybe I'll do more on that, actually. Maybe I'll do another video talking about the effects of that and how it affects me. Because anything numerical is terrible, and I don't remember numbers. And things like I don't remember obvious things that people would remember. I don't remember what my salary is. If I set up any kind of, if I get any kind of financial products, whether it's kind of savings or credit, I immediately forget what the interest rate is and all those kinds of things. if it's numerical, it goes straight out of my head. I always say to people, whoops, ran into a flag then. I always say to people, don't, if you ask me a question, ask me a qualitative question. If you ask me a quantitative question, that's in other words, a question where the answer is a number, you won't get an answer. I'll just say, I don't know. So, and I went off track then, so maybe that's 9 going off on tangents, but I kind of quite like that. I don't overly rein myself in from tangents, because I think that's kind of part of my style, really. I suppose, there's plenty of slick presenters out there, but there's only one me that rambles in my own, hopefully endearing way. And if it's not endearing, you won't people won't stick with the channel, and that's kind of fine, really. So it's fine to do things your own way. It's fine to be yourself. You have to realise what the cost of that is, and I do realise what the cost of that is, and this is why I do the things. Get up another ring. Very slight incline, but talking at the same time is making me slightly breathless. So this is why I do things the way that I do them. So thank you for sticking with me. If you're somebody that's watched more than one of my videos, or you're a subscriber or a supporter or a patron, we really appreciate it. I hope that I do attract the people that enjoy my channel, and if it takes me a while to do that, that's all well and good. I'm going to keep doing what I do. Rangi Mario.